seguimos en el módulo de competencias. En la sesión anterior que estuvo Albert Cañigueral hablamos un poco de cómo podemos atraer esas competencias que no siempre están dentro de la empresa y nos apalancamos en plataformas externas, que es un poco hacia donde parece ser que evolucionan. Y en la sesión de hoy no me voy a meter en muchos detalles, pero Arantxa nos va a hablar un poco, y Ulla Luukas nos va a hablar un poco de cómo usar esas competencias dentro de la organización, es decir, cómo se puede apalancar en el aprendizaje y sobre cómo democratizamos en la compañía. La sesión de hoy va a ser en inglés porque la persona que nos va a hablar es Ulla Luukas, que es finlandesa. No obstante, parte de la presentación va a ir apoyada en un soporte visual que facilita la comprensión. Si en algún momento hay que parar, se para y hablamos. Si las preguntas las queréis hacer en español, no pasa nada porque Arantxa en un momento lo pone en inglés. Entonces, simplemente eso, que sepáis, oye, y como siempre, si tenemos que parar en algún momento para hacer las preguntas, no esperemos al final, sino que se pueden ir haciendo. Así que nada, well, I think Ulla just made a brief introduction where we are in the program, what we work on the last session, what we're going to discuss in this session. And having said this, I'm going to switch over to Arantxa. But first, Ulla, I really wanted to thank you for your time and helping us because we believe, Arantxa believes that you are the expert that can be very helpful in this topic for us. And I'm sure we're going to learn a lot. So Arantxa, please, if you may.
Thank you, Rafa. Hola a todos. Y lo que ha dicho Rafa lo digo yo también. La lengua no tiene por qué ser una barrera, aunque yo sé que la mayor parte de vosotros no tenéis ningún problema, pero que no sea una barrera. No, lo que nos importa es que entendamos el contenido. So I'm gonna start introducing you, Ulla, to the entire team. Ulla, I got to know Ulla several years ago. And to be honest, coming from the field that I am coming, and having had a lot of experience in developing organizations and developing leadership and developing skills and supporting digital transformation, I was absolutely engaged with her in the understanding that she has about how an organization transforms, how we support people, whether they are, we really don't care, as we discussed last time, whether they are inside the organization or outside in the ecosystem. The fact is that we really need to make sure that those guys work together to support the strategy and support the business, creating services, creating products with customers. I mean, this is what it is important, is that we understand how an organization address change and transformation using people the right way, whether they are with any kind of contract, we don't care about that. And also using all the learnings available, all the information available, which is out there, and technology is just helping us to reach and put together all of that and create wonderful processes to support strategy creation and also innovation through learning and through participation. Ulla started her career in companies, worked a lot in Nokia, almost 10 years in the team academy, also, but started her career in business, in the telecom business, building a strategy, designing strategies and process to help implementation of a strategy at a global level. Work a lot in organizational development also, and started creating programs to support people learning, organizational learning, whether there are technical related skills or leadership related skills. And that was even reinforced with her 10 years in the team academy in Finland, which is, as I told you last time, a reference in how organizations learn and how people learn through teams, and she became one of the thought leaders in that field, team learning, and she's going to talk about that today. At the end of the day, there is a shift, and that is extremely strategic, that we understand that individual learning fine, But what counts for an organization is organizational learnings, is team learnings, and how do we use all of that to support innovation, growth, strategy, etc. So very, very thorough leader on that one. She is also, and we will talk about it, extremely eager on sharing how do we install real democracy in the organizations, and that is related to culture. And we will, again, next time we sit together, we are also going to talk about culture a lot, by the way. What is important here today is that finally, when you get and you want to get talent to work for you, you need not only the skills, but you need dynamics that mobilize all of those guys in the long range. And that is democracy. It is how to give voice to everyone. And by the way, as we discussed the other day with Albert, if we don't give voice to them, they are not going to come. If we don't create the culture, the learning culture and the participative culture where they have a space to express and co-create, they will not stay with us. They will not come, by the way, they will not come. And if they come, they are going to go very quickly. So important to understand how do we, how we shift from a kind of culture to another one, where everybody's voice count and everybody's voice create value. And those are processes. We know the processes. Technology is coming to support that. What I requested Ulla is gonna help us going through is just to tell her experience, and we will be having a discussion on that. 3 main skills that we all need. And when I think on your jobs today, the organizations that you are leading, team learning, extremely critical to understand. It's not a question of HR, it's just a CEO responsibility. The second one is digital engagement. How do you engage the voice of everyone in a way that everybody feels okay and also creates value? And third one is how do you establish a process on digital collaboration, making it extremely performant. So talent development is really related to organizational development. Technology here is helping to is really coming to support that. So Ulla, the floor is yours. Of course, you are the one who are going to lead us. So if you have questions yourself to ask to the team in any time you can ask, and anyone who wants to make sure, I want to make sure that everybody understands what we are talking about. So you just raise hand and we will stop and make sure that concepts are clear and the examples that Ulla is going to bring are understood and can be really actionable in your organization. So Ulla, go ahead. We start.
Wow, what an introduction!
What we know.
Yeah, what an introduction from your side. So maybe let's see if the technology work at this time. So I will share my screen, but most probably I am not going to show all the slides. But let's see. But these are the topics what we're gonna do. This is the main topic what we're gonna discuss today. So continuous learning, how to develop skills, how to build a learning culture. But before entering to that, so as Arantxa mentioned, I have worked in bigger corporations like Nokia, and then I have some consultation business. But what really made an impact to me and changed my life was Team Academy, Tiimi Akatemia, as we say in Finland and in Finnish. I come from the organization Howspace nowadays. So Howspace is also, it's quite inspirational, the story behind our company, where I work nowadays. Then we are talking about learning and teamwork and team learning. So what are the essentials of those? And somehow I believe that it's super important for everybody to understand kind of the systemic level approach. So if we are aiming to find some simple, tiny methods and tools without understanding the bigger picture, we will fail. But if we kind of start building processes, kind of I see organization more like as a plant, so that it transforms, it changes. So while comparing to this traditional organizational charts, there are boxes and people are part of those boxes. But and team as an entity and unit for me it's in best kind of a learning environment. So people come together, they get together, they have challenging and inspirational goals and targets, and they achieve those together.
Yeah,
and sometimes they fail, which is also.
I interrupt you, Ulla, just to make the link with what we have discussed last time. We were talking about the workspace that are attracting and retaining talent. We were addressing that last time. And what you are talking about, in fact, and I'm saying that for the team, is that at the end of the day, being in a team that is a learning team is what the talent wants. And especially the talent of the new generation. Not only, but mainly those the new generation. So people are going to decide and elements, they will read elements, they will identify elements that show and prove that working in that team is making me learn better than that one. And they will choose to go there. So the decision of the organization and where I am contributing is mainly decided by the individual, which is a shift on mind. So what I would really like you to focus is that how do you make a team the best desired place for anybody to learn and contribute, because this is what you are is the key exactly. Of that.
Yeah, and so how are we going to do this today? So I always want to start from the big picture. So what are the kind of the systemic elements there, and how does the big picture look like? But I'm really practical person, so because I want to kind of get results. So I'm not this kind of person who likes to talk here and there and this and that, but I want to put my hands to the dirt and let's see what will come out. So that's why we do a lot of experiments in our own organization. Then we kind of learn once again if we fail. So at least typically 99% of the learning happens by making mistakes. And that's why it's super important to understand and build a culture that supports this kind of experimental way of doing things and learning things, because then that's also the best place for those innovations. So because when people kind of dare to do things, so they are not fearing that, hey, is it okay for me to try and test this? And when they have the feeling it is okay, so then the miracle will come, and then they start to be more innovations and more kind of those ideas that is easier to put into the practice, and they bring some value for the company as well. So starting from the big picture, and hopefully in the end we get some concrete things. So what you could start doing. So I'm just telling from the practice. So this is not theory, but it's really practical approach. So what you could start doing. But before actually going to those learning related themes, maybe something about the Howspace itself. And that's one of those reasons why I love Howspace, is that the founders of the company, they have a pedagogical background. So that's why everybody who have used Howspace understand the kind of the intuitiveness there, how you kind of build processes that really make an impact and make a difference. So we had two kind of school teachers, and they started to kind of use those facilitative and coaching methods with their own pupils and students. And in the end, it happened so that they started to wonder, how come the learning results are much better in a way like this? And then they created the consultation company. The name of the company is Human Consultation, and it still exists. And they started to use the similar type of methods in their own client projects. And what happened? So in the end of the day, the room, the kind of the walls were full of flip charts and post-its, and there was a lot of enthusiasm in the air. But then they kind of started to think that maybe we actually lost the momentum. So there was we had a momentum there that, hey, everybody was really kind of enthusiastic about the findings, etc. But where is the kind of the wrapping up? What was the conclusion there? And as a consultant, they started to understand that their workday continue after the clients had left the room. They started to make some kind of wrap-ups and summaries, what were the key findings, etc., etc. And then in the next day, they sent something via email. So these were the key findings. And then they started to wonder that, did we really make an impact? So maybe we made an impact during the session, but what actually happened afterwards? So did they really start putting those findings into the practice? And that was the starting point for this whole platform development. That how about developing a platform that would make possible to make all the kind of documentation, all the ideation, all the work that happens during those processes visible. And it would be easy for the participants and the employees to go back to that data and continue the conversation afterwards. And nowadays in Howspace, we have a little bit over 100 employees. We are in a growth road. So basically having over 500,000 users, and we have Howspace is operational in over 50 different countries, and the product development has been actually really, really fast. So it's a SaaS company, and the origin and the roots are in Finland. Nowadays we have offices in North America, in Canada, in Sweden, and in Finland, and in Germany. So those are our main offices at the moment.
So
and
just to make sure that everybody understand, what we are showing here is one example. For me, as far as I know, one of the best examples of how technology can support all those team learning process and all of those strategy building exercises that engage the maximum of your employees in the construction of that strategy, but also in the implementation. So it's really a very clear example.
Yeah, and the main kind of, if we think about, so before going to the details, how to actually start making the transformation or the change, and how to use the digital technology in practical level. So typically the Howspace is used for learning purposes, organizational development purposes, like strategy work. So if you want to invite your employees, so that's the place where you use Howspace in workshops and events and in digital communities. So those are the main areas where Howspace is used nowadays. But do you know what? So actually, my first kind of occasion with Howspace when I was working in Team Academy, and I was working there as a head coach, and we had operations, team academies in 14 different countries. And we had this international leadership program, and typically the program was built in a way like this, that it was a 1-year program. It had 5 different modules. And then we traveled to one country. We spent 3 days there. Then everybody came back. And after some months, we traveled to another country and another 3 days, etc., etc. And then we started to think that, how is this so sustainable? So it cost a lot of money, to be honest, to actually send your employees to different parts of the world. And is this from climate point of view also sustainable? So that would there be another way to actually define and plan the program? And that was the time and place when I actually created our first leadership experiment on Howspace. And so still the first module was face-to-face module. We traveled to some fancy country and spent 3 days there, but the other ones were kind of those blended type of actions. So totally online sessions, and I was kind of amazed. So first of all, the participants, they loved the approach. They got the possibility to meet the other participants of the learning process in the first place, in the first module and in the last module. But what actually happened when we built the process digitally, so we got really high involvement rates. So basically 99.5% of the participants were more active during the process than our previous previous actions. Because so when we had those totally face-to-face sessions, so there was once again huge enthusiasm in the air. But what happens after the session? I think not that much. So when we changed our approach, that we supported the process digitally from the very beginning to the end, so the outcome was much better. And that was kind of great learning for me, because I would say my own mental models were in the first place like this, that if we have this kind of leadership training or leadership development, it needs to happen face to face, because it's so important to meet face to face and have these kind of discussions. So when we changed the process, I kind of once again I learned, so that okay, this was only my own assumption and my own mental model, because the outcome was even better when kind of having this kind of digital process in supporting the face-to-face process.
And what happened, Ulla? What happened when and that is also a point that we are addressing very often to support transformation, is how do we use technology? How do you use the platform when it comes to learn organizationally, not only individuals but the organization, from your customers or with your customers, to support innovation or just growth, because that is something that it has an extraordinary impact in business development. So how do you also integrate that in your reflection?
So basically it's super important to kind of understand the different kind of ingredients there. So let's say this kind of international when we have an international setting, so people are coming from different parts of the world. So basically, how would you organize this face to face? So it requires a lot of traveling, but when you use technology, you only press one button, and then everybody is in the same conversation. So it saves money, it saves time, it saves actually everything, and then the outcome in the end is that you get quicker implementations. It's easier and quicker to implement things, because you can have these kind of online settings and meetings daily if you want. But how in the earth if you are coming from different parts of the world? So it's much more challenging.
Or different parts of your organization, because what I understand that has enormous amount of value is just to make sure that you have an open platform that can be where you can really have dialogues and open conversations, dially, synchronous and asynchronous, with your customers, your partners in the ecosystem. So at the end of the day, this is also what I would really love to open up the minds, is that we are not talking about platforms or systems or tools that are just for your organization, for those that are working in your organization, but those are at the service of your goals and can engage in conversations and teamwork people that are not in your organization. And that is what changed everything, is that you can work openly in a safe mode. You can, as you were saying, Ulla, you can keep the conversation open. You can keep the conversation from yesterday available, from 3 months available, and you can create the future using the past. This is what is incredible. And of course, Howspace is supporting that, but other organizations, other platforms, partially or completely also. And this is the mindset that where I think learning makes a huge impact, is when you learn from your customer, with your customer, and from your partners, and with your partners, and that's impressive.
That's really important. So this kind of the co-creative approach. So how you easily invite different stakeholders to one place, and when you start working digitally, you don't actually have any kind of limitations. Do you invite 2,000 or 10,000 people? But think about if you arrange this face to face. So the first limitation is the room size, so how many people you can invite. So basically it brings a lot of flexibility, and we are not that dependent on the time zones, for example, anymore, because people can participate whenever it's convenient for them. And one great learning also in this leadership exercise was the power of the AI, because when we are working with complex topics, and so it's not very kind of fancy way to try to find easy solutions for complex topics, and when people have a lot of opinions, and how the AI can help us in kind of clustering what was the discussion all about. So it brings a lot of democracy to the process as well, because typically I have been many times in situations where the talkative persons actually decide what are the next steps. But you can't actually fool the AI, because AI only picks those topics that majority of the participants have been contributing. So I have seen some great development activities, and it helps. It's a real-time AI helping us to kind of make sense on the dialogue and on the discussion.
Yeah, let's focus on that one, Ulla, because I mean, leading complex organizations in the previous years. I mean, this is one of the things that I was dreaming since very long time to be able to do. And of course, artificial intelligence now is helping enormously. And what I was surprised with the new technology is that you can have hundreds of conversations online, and in a click, you can have a quick summary of what is driving this conversation, what are the main topics, what are the main concerns. You can classify by subject, you can classify by intensity, you use linguistic analysis in a second. I mean, this is something that when you think about it, I'm talking to you guys. Imagine when you make your teams participate online, giving feedback to your strategy or plans, or just opening up ideas to solve X problems. And you can immediately, just by a click, get the sense of what they think, what are the main ideas. You can vote ideas, the best ideas. So the strategy exercise, the planning exercise, the following up is just so performant. And what you said, Ulla, I really like it, is at the end of the day, technology is there also. And I'm talking about AI capabilities, is there also to make sure that no one have the feeling that his voice or her voice is not listened, not taken in account. And that in terms of transforming the culture and showing every single talent that their voice count is also building up on your capabilities to attract and retain talent. And that is important. Respect to everybody's voice.
Yeah, that's so important nowadays. And when we kind of think about the Generation Z, I am a mother of 3 children. The oldest is almost 21, and I think the current generation, they are quite kind of sure on things that they want to have, so what kind of organization they want to work. So I think this kind of openness, possibility to actually meet CEO whenever. So that meeting CEO, having a chat with CEOs, so not just that it's just a character there nobody meets, but those kind of values are quite important for this young generation at the moment. They want to make an impact. They want to have that their voices are heard, etc., etc. But okay, so this is actually one screenshot of one of our workspaces. So you can build so beautiful different type of workspaces, having different kind of backgrounds, and it's a white label product. So you can kind of build this as your company looks like if you want. But hey, let's go to the deeper, so kind of framing up the big picture. So when we talk about the learning culture, what does it mean and what not? So because it's good to understand what kind of things there are. So for me, a learning culture, it's kind of a mindset. So within an organization. So and it always have this kind of idea that we are actually people are prioritizing their time, they do their jobs, and they interact with one another. And there is this kind of sense of accountability. So if you see something is missing, you just don't kind of swipe it under the carpet, but you start taking actions, and you feel empowered to actually start doing things. So I learn something and I feel kind of accountable of telling my learnings to the others and spreading the good inside the organization. And then by contrast, if we talk about a culture which is not supporting learning that much, so in those kind of companies, the learning is kind of comparison with the word of pouring, ineffective compliance training. So maybe the individuals in the company are not that eager to actually participate for the training, so they go because their bosses said they need to go. So then I think this is a quite big. There is a big difference between these two mindsets. So what do we mean when we talk about learning culture? What does it mean in practice? And then if we are talking about not that learning organization, so it's more like there is this connection with pure word training. And then if we think about more detail what learning actually is, so that's why when we talk about transformation or change or something, so there needs to be learning, because learning is the process of acquiring new competencies and new skills, understanding new things, and even kind of changing the behavior, maybe values and attitudes. So it leads to change. So when you learn, so you are capable of changing your way of doing and way of acting actually. And this is really important to understand that so whenever we want to kind of change things, so the learning is part of this process. And I have learned during my years in being a leader and doing different type of things that the earlier we invite the whole kind of whole organization, so everybody in the organization to be part of whatever process, even if it's a question of strategy work, it's a question of organizational culture, it has something to do with some other development activities. The earlier we invite the employees, the more committed they are in the end. So they have been part of kind of the development process, not just in the phase when it's time to start implementing something. And that's quite important to understand. And my favorite subject is still the team learning. And I think in Nokia, we had a kind of, I thought I understand the word of team development and team learning, but to be honest, I didn't. It was the first time in Team Academy when I really understood the kind of the importance. What does this team learning actually mean? So, and what it requires? It requires actually, it's built on dialogue. And somehow since then, I have been trying to kind of build possibilities and opportunities for my teammates, for my colleagues to actually have the dialogue. And now, once again, when we talk about technology, how technology can help us in increasing the dialogue inside the organization, everything comes much more easier. Because once again, we are not that connected to one room, having 20 chairs, but now everybody can join wherever they are located, and then the dialogue can start. So that's something what I would like to emphasize here. So, and it's team learning, it's a collaborative effort. So we have a common goal, and then we are built on each other's competencies, and also the ones who are not that competent in certain area, they learn because they work as a team. So they learn some new competencies. And I think this is also some sort of risk management. So the more people are aware of the wholeness, so the easier it's to kind of continue the work if somebody decides to leave the company, for example. So that's, I would always pay some attention. So how to avoid the risks also. And the better we work as a team, I would say the more committed the individuals are actually to the company, because I don't feel loneliness. I am not isolated. I am part of something bigger, and that's how it goes in practice. Ulla, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Yep.
I have one one question, a comment and a question. The comment is when you talk about change and transformation, drives to learning, and no real transformation can happen with a thorough process of learning supported by a culture of learning. I agree 100%. If we go in detail, what that means that people need to understand the cap. They need to know the cap, the direction, the objective, the goal. We tell it the way we want. They need to, as you said, add new skills and new behaviors. And then you were talking about the common goal. So that cap is common. And that is the question then, is how do we go from, and that is critical for all those companies, is how do we go from an individual goal or a COMEX goal, a comité de dirección, or a hierarchical decision in terms of the cap, this is where we go, this is the goal, to a common goal that is really built up with the rest of the organization, because that is also a point, is how do we make sure that is a common goal, and how the technology can support to make it happen?
Yeah, first of all, I think that's a brilliant question. So I think you can have different kind of point of views where you look at this. But if we think about from technology point of view, is kind of how we invite, how we kind of make it possible for everybody to be part of those goal setting procedures. So because I am a strong believer, so that all the wisdom is not on the leaders or the director's head. So I think the more, of course, it will bring some diversity when we actually invite more people. So if we have possibility to invite everybody, so I would say setting a common goal requires a lot of dialogue, first of all. So, and we are openly also kind of ready to take and see different kind of approaches. So basically, because the fact is that there is also people think differently. So that's the fact. So how we actually combine the different approaches and different opinions to that direction, that it will actually bring something good for the organization. So I think this is actually so wide question. It's hard to find a kind of simple answer, but I would say, so giving the time, giving the space, and giving the possibility for the company employees to be part of the goal setting process when it comes to their own work, for example. So I think it's super important that the teams can set their own targets, so that somebody is not just throwing the targets to them.
To that point, I think I have something to share that was enlightening for me 2 years ago. I mean, in the organization we made an experiment and allowing the teams to set up their own goals instead of embracing those that were thought at the top of the organization, and those were important business units, and the surprise was enormous. The average target that was set up by the teams were 15 to 20% higher than the ones that the top of the organization were thinking for the year to come. So look at that. And that was a very, very interesting exercise. Instead of having the reverse that could be in our minds when we are leading an organization, that if I allow the team to set up their own goals, the overall goal is going to be lower. But no. The teams are targeting higher. And once they set up their own goal, they are gonna deliver even higher than the target that they set up. And I have very, very good examples of how now this way of doing it is just moving the organization up. So this is exactly what you are talking about, Ulla. I think it's very, very important that, and this is a change in mindset, is how do we use the strategic talent that a team has to set up strategic goals.
Yeah, that's really important. Maybe only a brief, because I wanted to add this picture here, because when we talk about team, And sometimes when we start, if the kind of the team learning is a new concept in organizations, so first of all, we need to reserve some time together for the members of the team. That's really much needed. So because the first layer of the whole setting is that they need to actually build the trust. And do you know how the trust is built? So the performance creates the team. So the sooner, as Arantxa mentioned, the sooner actually they get this kind of task that, hey, these are the your first job is to actually define the goals for your team. So business goals, other development goals, etc., etc. And when they start working together, they start building the trust. So the trust building part, it requires some time, but it doesn't any help at all if there are some nice team development activities and we go to the forest and spend 2 days. It can help a bit, but in the end, the performance creates the team. So they need to have real business related challenges, and that's what will build the trust. The second layer is so important because in good teams, there are also always crises, always. The conflicts are always basis for something new. And now there is this chicken egg kind of challenge. So if there is not enough trust in team, so the team never ever gets the capability of developing or handling the conflicts. So the conflicts are swept under the carpet, and that's why where we actually need a really good leadership. So how in the earth, so if there is something bubbling under the kind of surface, it's quite easy to kind of, so you kind of, when you enter in, even in a digital environment, you can feel that. So if there is tension, if there is something, people are not really openly talking about the things, they are hiding, they are trying to kind of build nice picture, and the others know that that's not the reality. So when they start kind of raising those difficult topics on surface, then I would say as a leader, you need to say that, yes, this is something I have been waiting for some months. And when they start really talking about the challenges and the difficult situation, then you can expect some kind of commitment. So they are committed on the teamwork. They see that, hey, something big may come out of this exercise. And then they start kind of developing competencies of being accountable, taking responsibilities. And now, once again, when we are talking about the talent, so talented people want to be challenged. They want to have an environment where they can flourish, where they can develop, but also being their own. So that's the thing. So talent meets the talent. So, and when you kind of are capable of setting and building that kind of environment, so you are one step nearer to in building a culture that supports the learning and also attracts the talent. So that's kind of the one art of the teamwork in a nutshell. Okay.
I have one question, Arantxa, and Ulla, and it's regard to your last comment. So, because I really like the idea of the fact that give freedom to set up the goals and that this can bring higher results than expected. But if I were a company from Creciendo and I haven't done that ever before, where should I start? Like,
yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, very good question. And so as I mentioned in the beginning, we start from the big picture, and I'm a really practical person and hands-on. I want to put my hands to the dirt. So I have done it. So I'm going to share a practical example, okay, what you could start doing. Okay. So before going to those practical things, so I don't know, most probably all of us have experiences in this kind of systems ignorant workplace. So what it means in practice. So people have this kind of a little bit, I don't know, is the dangerous attitude a good thing? So, but anyways, I just work here type of approach. Hey, I'm just working here. I'm doing my piece of part. That's not my business anymore. So I have taken my part of this. Or so there are things learning. What does it mean? What does it mean? Are you talking about learning? Bullshit. I don't care at all. And there is this kind of thinking that somebody else will take care of that. If you see a challenge, if you see something is bubbling there, so in this kind of organizations, people don't really care. So they kind of expect somebody else will take care of the topic. And later on, we kind of realized that actually nobody took care because it wasn't in anybody's agenda. But on the other hand, when we learn, what does it mean when we are talking about systems intelligent workplace? So people want to see the big pictures. Let's start from there. So they are eager to know where the company is going. What are the company goals? What are the ways? How are we going to achieve our goals? What kind of who are in charge of doing those things, etc. And I think this is so well said. This one must change the system, not just individual. So we need to understand the kind of the big picture. I'm going to briefly show you soon. So what does it mean? How does this process could look from systemic point of view? But understanding the big picture is something that the talent actually want to understand. They want to be part of. They want to be part of developing the things. They want to contribute. They want to be heard, etc., etc. And if we talk about I need to change this a bit so I see. So understanding meaning of attitudes and mental models. So this mental model question is actually one of the basic elements of a learning organization. So Peter Senge is the guru, and he developed the theory of fifth discipline. So how does a learning organization look like? And one of the core topics there is the concept of mental models.
Mental model and you will like this one, Ulla. We talk about strategy creation. Fine. So how the companies from Creciendo, that is the question, where to start? Just opening up in terms of taking all the talent using all the talent to create a strategy. Mental model could be, I'm sorry, is answering the two main questions. Who should be aware, because we are there in many cases, who should be aware of the strategy? That is one way of looking at it. Organizations can say just the top of the organization, because should be confidential. We should keep this among us, because it's so dangerous that this is spread out in the organization. So for sure, answering that question with that mental model is not going to drive into what we are talking about. That is one. And the second question is, who should contribute? One is who should know. The second one is even more aggressive, is who should contribute to writing the right strategy. And of course, mental model could be, of course, those who knows. And those who knows is up the organization. It's not, of course, those that are close to the customers.
Yeah, exactly.
That changed everything. That changed.
That changed everything. And one of the key messages also here is that if we don't define, so if we don't understand the different mental models of different individuals, we enter actually talking on the apples and bananas and oranges at the same time.
And even worse, we get into conflict without trust, because we didn't build the trust, and we get direct into the conflict. So it's gonna be, we will stop there. So that is extremely important to understand. So Rafa, when you ask that question, which is absolutely key, is that we cannot start using technology to spread out the dialogue about the strategy without take the time to build the trust and share that we want to do that, and what are the reasons that support our change in terms of who should know as many as possible, who should contribute as many as possible.
Yeah, exactly. So the dialogue is the basis for a learning organization, and it's basis for the team learning. So basically, when the more people we invite, the more we are sharing actually the similar kind of mental models or understanding of the current situation and where we want to actually go. So and that's why it's so important to really understand the kind of those tiny nuances there, so that what are the impacts, and understanding the kind of the behavior, so how people actually think and how people behave, it's somehow quite important to see and understand.
And there is also something that I'm thinking about, Ulla, that you can also give your comments here, that can open your minds on that topic, is that we often disregard the fact that an intelligent system is working is intelligent because the individuals are intelligent. So this is like collective intelligence is working if the individuals are intelligent. That is also a mental model. That is a mental model.
Right.
And we disregard very often that is that technology is there to support the proof that with normal people that have a common goal, you can really go extremely far. You don't need stars everywhere. You just need a system and a culture supported by technology, because you need to be efficient. If not, it's not possible. But based on the team, no one succeed having stars without having a team, and that can be a team of stars. But the team dynamic is what makes the difference. I always remember the Real Madrid of the superstars that was failing all the time with a lot of stars.
Arancha, not today because we just won yesterday. So
in front of the PSG, that's another story. But anyway, you know what I mean. And the systems, the intelligence system, is not a collection of stars. Is a team that works efficiently together.
And there needs to be diversity in the team. So different type of team roles. Some are kind of creating new ideas. Some are implementers. Some are challenging the process. So there needs to be enough diversity. So the biggest risk leaders can do is to kind of recruit similar people than they are by themselves, and that's kind of the natural thing what we do, because of the fact we typically it's easier to work with people that we like and are similar than us, but really challenging ourselves a bit. So what kind of competencies actually would fit, and what kind of competencies we need. So that's a quite important point to understand.
So there is another point that could be interesting to explore, Rafa, is for the Creciendo. As I see those organizations, your organizations, there is kind of a process that I think is clever and that technology can support. So once you are aligned on your mental model that who should know as many as possible, who should contribute as many as possible, then you go for the call for exploration. A call for exploration supported by technology is very interesting. In the past, the call for exploration that you do as an organization, you say your teams, go and explore the field. Go and observe what the customers need. Go and explore what the competitors are doing. Go to Silicon Valley to see what others are doing. The call for exploring, I mean, we used to call that learning expedition. I mean, imagine if technology allows you to do call for exploration all the time, 24 hours, 7 days per week, 365, all the time, and everybody is exploring for you. And that is just the call for exploration using technology, Howspace or another, is just changing the world. The fact that you have 300 people exploring for you is impressive without moving from their house, just using technology. That is the first call. The second call is the call for writing the vision. This is who should contribute as many as possible. So using what we learn, how do we start contributing to writing that vision, that strategy, that planning? There are different levels. And then the third call, which you can choose also, is fine. We are not ready yet to make this call for writing the vision to all, but we are ready, or we are getting ready for the call for challenging our vision. That is the second step, maybe. And that is also putting the organization in the way of getting into a system that is intelligent, using all the talent available.
Yeah, that's right. And that kind of reminded me. So we arranged this kind of business hackathon last autumn. So invited stakeholders, invited our customers, invited our partners to be part of the kind of hackathon. So how actually our stakeholders and the networks sees the world. And it was such an interesting experience. So fully digital exercise. So in 2 hours, we got so much more valid information than some of bunch of research army of researchers would ever got. So we can share time, and also we could realize that it was so important for our customers as well. Say they wanted to be part of this kind of exercise, and they were kind of, oh, our voice is important. So these persons, they want to kind of hear from us how we see the situation, how we see the thing. So it's easy to kind of
Ulla,
also develop different types of working.
Ulla, one question, because you said, okay, if you open this exercise to your organization and to other stakeholders outside the organization, yes, my first impression is, oh, I like it because I'm being heard. But one thing is that you hear me, and then the next thing is that you follow what I say, no? So how do you manage the conflict in the sense that, okay, I propose something, or a group of people have proposed something which goes against the initial idea or the will? How do you manage that? Because I can go from, oh, it's interesting, you're hearing me, but my second step is, but you're not taking me into consideration what I've said.
The team regulation issue, Ulla.
Yeah. That's a really good thing. But typically we invite more people, and then in the end, so everybody can contribute, and then we actually run those AI analyses. So basically, based on this discussion and based on this dialogue session, what were the key findings? We cluster. We use the team clustering, and then those kind of independent answers are not shown, but it kind of collects. It's kind of artificial intelligence does. So basically, it combines from the huge mass of information those themes that were mostly mentioned. So that's why we are more confident that, okay, if this and this many kind of participants say that this type of topics is important, so most probably it's better to believe on that. So, and that's how we actually did that exercise. And of course, because it was an open co-creative process. So basically the process continues sometimes. So after this ideation exercise, there was the next round. So everything was visible for everybody, and the conclusions were, everybody were able to also see the conclusions of the process. So I think these type of things are quite easy to kind of arrange when using technology.
And I would add to what you say, Ulla, that, and this is why I was talking about the first call is the call for exploration, because the call for exploration is a call for learning. And it's basic learning. Shit, I mean, it's not going to the school, it's not going to the ESE, it's just learning from what is going on in the field, what is going on with your customer, what is going on in technology, what is going on in the world, on your market. So it's learning. So the first call is the call for learning. So when you get into the second phase, which is building or challenging the vision, then using IA, I mean, the combination of the strong learning with the IA that is evaluating naturally the weight of and the value of ideas. Can you imagine how powerful it is for a CEO today to just make sure that what he has in front is based on learning, very important learning from his team, and that technology was possible to classify all the ideas, and technology is allowing the entire team to vote ideas also. So you have, would be so easy to come up with a vision that is sustained by the majority of the organization and sustained by the learning of 100% of them.
Yeah, super important. So, and what does it mean when we talk about learning work community? So the learning part is so important. So the team is the kind of the smallest unit where things and the magic starts to happen. And then of course it's people are supporting each other, but the core thing is to build such loose enough structures. I'm going to show briefly how we have done it, so to make it possible in practice. So this is only a kind of system. I'm not going through the details, because the next topic what we are going through is based on actually this. So how we plan things, how the action part is taken care of, how we do take care of the reflection, and how we kind of see and understand that the knowledge is happening. But we are not going into the details of this, but this is the systemic level process that we have implemented to our own practices. So now we are entering to the more practical approach. So how we really actually take the technology and how we utilize the technology as a part of our daily work. So this is a fancy picture. So basically, so kind of over level picture. I'm not sure how aware are you using the OKR model in your own procedures. So objectives and key results model. I'm not sure.
That is a point that I was rising up with Ulla, is that my understanding of your organizations, as many I'm working with, we are working more with KPIs, key performance indicators, than OKRs. But I'm not sure where are you on that one. Ulla, could be maybe interesting that you talk about the difference between KPIs and OKR, and why those are the ones that we keep for our strategy work.
Yeah, let's go briefly through. So the main differences between OKRs and KPIs. So if you think of the organization as a ship, and then the roles of the KPI meters and the OKR system can be described as follows. So the KPIs, they are more like the instrument cluster that tells us everything in the engine room is healthy. So the KPIs are monitoring the ship pushes on as usual. So like questions or topics like that the boiler pressure is good, there is enough food left, the crew is full of strength, etc., etc. And that's kind of the KPI world. But OKRs are more like the ship's navigation system. So if a ship travels on autopilot, so between two islands, day after day, year after year, so I would say then the OKRs are, you don't need the OKRs. So, but as soon as the ship needs a new direction or any changes are made, the OKR system becomes necessary. So in a nutshell, the OKRs show the ship's course and speed. So, and they are not urgently needed if we are on a collision course with an iceberg. So the OKR system controls the resources used to create, develop, change, and pursue objectives.
And that they are more long-term and they are not quarterly or yearly related.
Actually, they are yearly and quarterly related, but it's like a navigation system. So basically it's I think this is a quite nice metaphor. This the OKRs are ship's navigation system. So if we expect that things are going as planned, so KPIs are enough. So basically, typically they are on green lights. But then if we would expect that something unexceptional would happen, so then the OKRs are needed, because we can quite easily define with the help of OKRs what are the key concentration areas we should actually focus as a company, as the organization, what our people are doing, where they are putting their times and their efforts. So basically that's kind of the major difference. So we use in our organization both the KPIs and OKRs. So KPIs are for monitoring kind of the monetary goals more, so that our business develops as we have planned, and those are more kind of quantitative goals. But as a company like we are, so where we need really many development actions, because we are in a growing business, it's really hard to kind of estimate, understand the big picture. So we need to be alert all the time, and that's why we have decided to actually go on with the OKR. So as a kind of practical example, so how we actually do this. So strategy process in the first place, fully engaging ones. Everybody in the organization was part of the strategy process. So some of us leaders, we created those key questions, what we were trying to find out, and then we invited everybody in the company to contribute. So what were their thoughts, what ideas they had, etc., etc. So with the help of the AI, with the help of the team clustering, etc., etc., we came up with the company level OKRs. And after that process, so the team started to define their own OKRs based on the company level OKRs. And now there is where the magic starts to happen from learning point of view, because when the OKRs, team level OKRs were defined, everybody in the company creates their own learning contract. So only a few questions: where have I been? Where am I now? Where am I going? How do I know I will reach my goals? And those are always connected with the OKRs. So basically, when the team defined the OKRs, what it means from my learning point of view, what new things I need to learn. And then we shared the learning contracts inside the team, and everybody shares their own. And then we get an understanding what we need to learn as a team. And that's where the magic happens. So it takes a little bit longer time, but in the end, the outcome is much more better because the team is committed. They have created their own learning targets. They are in charge of setting or actually implementing the OKRs in practice. So this is the process that we are following. And this is now kind of a screenshot of one of our workspaces. So this is our team level Howspace workspace. So when we had defined the OKRs, and this is so interesting, based on the company OKRs, we defined 5 major objectives for our team. And the key results part here is that we had this kind of voting procedure going on. First, ideation of the key results, what we should achieve. Then our team, they kind of voted, so what are the most important ones? And in the end, we came up with maybe 20 key results. And then we decided, because we wanted to increase the team learning in our team and in our organization, we decided that there will be minimum 2 persons, maximum 3 persons taking care of one key responsibility. And then the only one instruction, so choose to be part of the group that you can most contribute, so you have already some existing knowledge. And the second criteria was, what are the topics you would like to learn more? So pick up, be part of that kind of working group where you want to kind of develop new skills. And once again, magic happens because of the fact now there is a 3 person working around with key result, one key result, for example, and then they come together digitally once again. One is living in Canada, one is living in Sweden, one is living in Finland, and things happens asynchronously because everything. All the things, topics are kind of done asynchronously first. And when they set up a call and a meeting, they already come up with some sort of proposals and conclusions. So the core thing here is to understand, so in my opinion, so that avoid the risk. So invite more people to take ownership of the objectives and key results. That's the core thing to do. Give also new learning possibilities for your people, because talented people, the best talent, want to be challenged. They want to learn new things. And that's the way how we can ensure that, hey, these topics interest them. They want to put their hands on this, and they want to learn new things. And then once again, they are not that strictly always even following their own job description, but they can kind of grow in their role by getting new challenges, new possibilities for learning. So that's kind of the procedure in strategic level, how to kind of take the best out of digital environments, how to take the best out of asynchronous and synchronous work. So this was the kind of one kind of first example.
That is based on something very important, Ulla, that I really want to highlight, which is transparency. Transparency. Yep. For you as a CEO, once you get into this world, everything is available for you. Everything is there. It is there, available at a click. You know who is accountable for what, who is contributing with his or her skill into that team, and where that person is learning from others. You know exactly what is going on, you know, at a click. Every single day, you know where your organization is in terms of exploring, learning, and also contributing. That is transparency. So you have it, but the others also. That means that everyone who wants to know where the organization is and how they are moving projects, how they are moving learnings, how they are working with this and that, they know also. So this transparency, because of the capabilities that the technology is offering today, means enormously for me, and is contributing to I don't know. I mean, I would say it's contributing is chicken and egg. It's contributing to the trust, and if you don't have trust, you don't get there. So at the end of the day, this transparency is extremely powerful. So Ulla is coming from a country culture and a background where for her that is not an issue. Transparency is just the way you go, which is not what we experience in many organizations in other countries. In Spain, in France, I have the same with many organizations where transparency is not there. Is who should know? Those who should know, not everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I understand about that point. And then once again, so I showed this kind of the paddle wheel for learning, so a systemic approach. So, and how you can start doing things, kind of those tiny, small experiments. So this is most probably the best kind of idea I have ever got. So, because I was facing the situation that I am leading a team, we are in 3 different continents, so it was impossible for me to kind of have these kind of face-to-face sessions. And how in the hell I'm going to solve this tricky challenge? And then I started to, okay, we have this wonderful platform. Let's start eating our own cereals. And we built this kind of weekly reflection model. So we have this kind of workspace. Every single Friday, every member of the team answers. They have their own slot in the workspace. So what are your highlights from the previous week? And once again, you need to have a comparison for your own target. So what have you achieved based on your own individual or team level targets? So what have you contributing, etc. What have you learned? It's a super important question, because so what have you learned? So because we have the learning goals, it's always good to reflect a bit and stop for a while to really kind of wrap up what did I learn and things like that. Then the important part, questions I need to be answered now, because people in this remote time, they may feel a little bit isolated, even loneliness, can you imagine? And now there is so much Teams and Zoom fatigue. People are quite fed up with that. So, and they want to be heard. So if they have any questions, they can share their ideas and thoughts and questions transparently to everybody. And this is important. What is my main focus for next week? So write few sentences. What are the key topics, key tasks that you're going to do during the coming week? And now this is important to understand. All this is done on Friday. So, and we start really lively conversation based on these, the kind of the updates to the workspace. And so when we have our weekly meeting, so we don't even need to call any status reports. So all the problems, or majority of at least the smallest problems, are solved beforehand. And the time when we come together and we press this magic join button there, we're going to showcase it soon, how it works. So we have time to focus on more strategic things. So how to grow our business, how we are doing according with the strategy in initiatives we have defined for ourselves, etc. And one last but not least, so reflection is the core part of the learning process. So once again, seeing the kind of the paddle wheel for the learning, the systemic circle model there. So there is this planning part, then it's action part, but learning happens when you stop for a while and you reflect. And we use in a quarterly basis reflection method, only 4 questions. What went well? What could have gone better? What did we learn? and what we're going to do differently next time. And once again, we have all the things are there on the workspace. People kind of write their own reflections beforehand. And when we come and meet, we just, with the help of AI, defined those ways, those things we want to further develop and that we really want to put some efforts on. So really simple way to start kind of taking the best out of the asynchronous and synchronous work. And believe or not, I would say I have been leading so many years, and I know that if I would ask from you, so what if you could decide one thing what you would have more? So I would say in your weekly work practices, I would say quite many of you would say I would need more time, and I would love to have more time to spend with my family, with my kids, with my relatives, with the people I love. And believe or not, when you start kind of transforming your work practices to digital work, you don't have those unnecessary meetings anymore. You don't have those unnecessary meetings anymore because, and still you have the feeling that everything is going on, things are under your control, people are happier, people are more committed, and then you have a place, a digital place where people can contribute and share their thoughts and ideas. So that's the core and the heart of that.
If we take, for example, the exercise of business development, how do you use, how you can use this technology to support business development? Ulla, you have a lot of experience in business development and marketing in your entire professional life. How you would be using this at the time you were working in Nokia, for example, how you would be using this capability to boost your results? I think that could be the way to address it.
Yeah, exactly. The times when I worked in Nokia, so unfortunately we didn't have that fancy platforms available, so it required a lot of traveling in those days. And the worst year was I traveled 140 days, and if I would have the possibility during those days to use this kind of platform or these kind of digital platforms, so things would be different. So basically, you get things done in a shorter time, so you have more time for your do something else than just kind of traveling between different countries, seeing a lot of airports, etc., etc. And that's why we created this kind of forum structure in Howspace, because of the fact. So we wanted to kind of have a kind of company level understanding of the important topics we want to achieve. So it's a cross-functional exercise. There are participants for all our functional teams. So basically, because we want to kind of have more this kind of cross-functional dialogue, cross-functional collaboration, because in the end, if we need to develop solutions that kind of are feasible and useful in a company from the whole company perspective. And this business development forum is a place where we invite some external experts, for example. We can sometimes invite our customers, so how they see the product and the platform, what type of features there should be. And it's basically the kind of the connotation of a forum is in a nutshell that it's an open place. So basically anybody in our company has still open license to participate and join to these meetings. So, and this MRR, monthly revenue, recurring revenue, it comes from those words. So this is mainly for our regions, because the business responsibility is in regions. So they talk about customers, how to develop business with existing customers, how to acquire new customers, what new procedures, what new experiments we need to start to kind of to ensure that we actually reach our targets, etc., etc. An operations forum, it's for kind of company operations. But the thing there is that these are, everybody have has the possibility to join and participate. And we also invite some experts in our own company. So you don't need to have a directors or vice presidents or CEO labels, but also those experts in their own fields are invited, and they can share their own thoughts and own ideas. So that's kind of the transparent way of doing things, taking kind of the best out of everybody who is involved in the company, because people, once again, they want to be part of, they want to contribute, they want to have the possibility to be heard.
And to be honest, looking at it from a company perspective, you get a much better return on investment, because you are bringing expertise that is difficult to find out in the high-tech market today, everywhere in Europe, everywhere in the world, by the way, and you are getting the best of them in many different processes than the one they are supposed to, or outside the team they were supposed to, and that is impressive, that you really increase the return on investment of every single expertise.
So basically, I think now we have some time for kind of wrap up, maybe some questions. So this was it, and it has been a really pleasure to have this chat with you and
many thanks, Ulla. I mean, I think the floor is yours, and there are for sure many questions. It's not an easy topic, and it's really related to the culture that you have and the culture that you want to have, and how do you bridge from one place to another. It's extremely interrelated between the talent and the culture, so we know that it's a complex topic. And before we leave, I will Ulla and I had an idea that even the Creciendo team, they don't know what it is. It's going to be a surprise for them. We will offer you, we will make you a proposal, and so for you to go further.
How have you seen companies go from one mindset to the other? Or Arantxa, can you give us an example of a company that has shifted the mindset from the company, and how is that process done? If perhaps you have collaborated with one of them, and the results.
So typically they start from a smaller exercise. Like there is one big company called Kone, for example. So they started this kind of cultural, organizational level culture journey. So they invited their whole employees to kind of set up and define the new values and the working practices, etc. So that was kind of the starting point. They started from one concrete thing, and then step by step they started to implement in different places. So for their customer work, for example, so how they actually do the pitch during the corona time. So many companies use Howspace also for in their sales purposes, because it's quite innovative way to kind of share the documentation and share the bits, etc. So basically it starts from something, one practical example they want to test, and then the usage expands when they kind of start seeing the benefits, how easy it's to kind of collaborate and contribute with the colleagues or with the external people. And if we think about the customers, we have corporations, we have public sector organizations, we have educational sector organizations, we have event organizations.
But there is one organization that is an example today that I am following very closely, is the LINEM in France, the employment organization in France, which is, as you can imagine, an enormous organization that has in charge helping people to get a new job. And in the meantime, the engagement of the government is to put them in learning processes that can reorient their career or add new skills and technologies that they require to get back to the labor world. And this is one of the organizations that is embracing this kind of technology right now, to support all of those processes that are strategic for the country and extremely important for the individuals. That is one.
European Commission is one good example also.
European Commission too, and in less big organizations, you will have educational organizations, and in terms of just give other examples than the technology companies, because the technology companies, of course, as you can imagine, those that are like Howspace, they are in technology. So for them, it's just their DNA. So it's very easy to live into that environment. There is not cultural clash or transformation. But if you take organizations in retail, as I am supporting a lot, I mean, that they are embracing this technology. But as he was saying, Ulla, they just take an environment and they work out that environment with that technology. So that is can be a store, for example, can be a store 200 people in the store, so many customers, so many products, so many processes that can be supported by this kind of work and this kind of technology. So there are what I would and that was my reaction also to Rafa, is there is no exclusion in terms of hierarchy or kind of jobs. I mean, this is dialogue, and the question is, what is the dialogue about, and what this dialogue is impacting in terms of business process. And that is the key question. It's not a question of blue collars or not. It's a question of what are the processes in your organization that can benefit from using talent differently and opening up the dialogue for a strategy creation. And I would say that a strategy is not just the big goals. A strategy needs to happen, I mean, everywhere in the organization. And a strategy is not only writing the vision and the mission, it's just setting up how you are going to get there and how you are going to deliver your results, the KPIs and the KR. And that once you understand that every single one in the organization can participate, and that is the shift, that is the difficult shift at their level to the strategy creation. That day you need a strategy. That day, the day you realize, the same day you realize, then you need the technology. But first, I would say the first step is just to realize that everyone is relevant. And those that are not, why do you keep them in the organization? That would be my strategic question. Why do you keep irrelevant people? If they are not relevant, just get rid of them. If they are relevant, I'm being very hard here. Huh? If they are not, if they are relevant, use them. If they are not relevant, get rid of them. And that is the message that I would say. Many organizations are shifting from the old world, not the technology world, because if we take examples from the technology, then they are maybe not relevant for you. But we wanted to show you how things could move and will move. And also, what is the experience that the talented people, especially for digital transformation, those that you need, they expect. So they are going to go better for an organization that is offering them that than going for an organization that is all way organized, where their voice is not being listened, where they are not learning capabilities and learning agility, because learning is one thing, but learning quick is another thing, and make the difference. And we need to set up an organization that and a culture that where agility learning, agile learning is possible, and is being identified quite quick by anyone joining the organization. And that is a big challenge. It is a big challenge. We know that it is a big challenge. I know that it is a big challenge. Ulla knows. But I mean, we would not like that learning and transformation, when we talk about that with you, is ignoring the fact that technology is out there to make it possible, to make it safe, and to make it really, really open to anyone that you can access with a click. And it's not expensive. It's saving money from you. You can manage your budget differently. And this is what makes all the difference.
It requires a kind of change in the mindset, that's for sure. So how we actually see the work, the concept of work. So what does it mean in practice? How we organize our daily activities, and how we see actually the work in a bigger picture. So what are the ingredients there, and how we contribute, etc., etc. But the good thing and the positive thing is that everything is there already available, and the technology is developing so fast, so it becomes hopefully easier and easier all the time.
Thank you, Ulla. Thank you, Arantxa, for your time and for all these key messages. As you mentioned, Arantxa, it's not an easy topic at all, so it requires a lot of concentration and really understanding the linking of the dots. So, but it's terrifically enrichment, no? But you brought us today to the table, no? And how to really change the way we see learning and how we can really make it. When you were talking about democracy, no, I now understand what you really mean by democracy, becoming democratic organizations and really the exponential learning curve. So really thank you very much, because and all the capabilities that technology can offer us to make this easier and cheaper. So really thank you very much. And just as a reminder, we'll see each other on the 20th of April in person to really discuss about culture. We'll be making a focusing on culture. So thank you very much.
Sarah and I, so we will engage with you on another topic that, but it's not another because everything is related. But it's how do we create a culture transformation, and how do we deal with it? And of course, the technology is also always behind, but it's not going to be the focus of those one. It's really going to be culture. What are the processes that we can put in place to support culture transformation? So it will be a pleasure to spend time with you. Thank you, Ulla. Talk to you soon. And anybody who has motivation to go further, just let us know. We will create something for you that will be hands-on, just with a click in your mail.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.
You too. Thank you, Ulla. Bye bye.